Hello everyone, I'm Sander Jacobs from the University of Antwerp, and I will talk to you about some projects going on in Flanders and Belgium concerning ecosystem services, which are moving towards, hopefully, a national or a regional TEEB. So I will shortly talk about projects concerning ecosystem service valuation and inventory in Belgium and Flanders, and then I will introduce the BEAST project. So this is a first project which has been an important step. It's a societal cost-benefit analysis we developed together with VITO. It was commissioned by the Department of Environment, Nature and Energy. And in fact, this started off as a societal cost-benefit analysis for natural values in seaport environments, but we ended up with some kind of integration of all kinds of quantification functions for different regulating and amenity services, combining this with valuation functions, economic valuation functions from VITO. And this proved to be a real good first step to apply on a broader scale than only the seaport regions. This tool is being further developed and adapted to new state-of-the-art knowledge and also broadened to be functional in a broader geographical scale. A second important step that was taken was commissioned by the Agency of Nature and Forest, also Flemish department, Ecosystem Service in Flanders, which gives a first overview of ecosystem service in Flanders, focusing on the natural structures and processes that are the basis of these services. Gives an overview of the mapping proxies that are available, for which services are there valuation data available, what are the values if we have them, what are potential benefits, and finally per ecosystem service also we give a short overview of economic risks and opportunities, and we give some policy advice. This is in fact a really exploratory inventory, but in fact a first step towards a TEEB, but only a small first step. The second part of this project is also a number of example cases where quite big land use changes occurred, mostly in the sphere of nature development projects, and we evaluated this project from ecosystem service point of view. So what have these mainly biodiversity measures meant for the delivery of ecosystem services in these case studies? A third project which is still going on, and I had a small talk about it, and there's also a poster, is EKOFresh, which means to study ecosystem services of freshwater ecosystems, but is more and more turning into a more methodological approach. It's in fact the first study, apart from the BEAST project, which is really interdisciplinary, so we have a lot of disciplines cooperating together, and this is not always easy, but finally we have learned a lot, and we think we are now able to do it even better next time. So, as I said, this gives of course a number of results concerning the services of freshwater system, but mainly we are developing methodologies to apply further on. So this is just to illustrate, this is a map of a bundle of 7 ecosystem services throughout the catchment, but as you can read more on the poster. And then finally the BEAST project, which is it's a cluster project also funded by the Belgian Federal Public Planning Service Science Policy. The cluster project consists in Belgium of several partners, and it's a cluster of ongoing projects. So each of these partners were performing projects which had some kind of overlap, and we are working together now to study, to make some kind of vision on society-nature interactions. We are talking about ecosystem services, of course. As we see, the number of funded studies in Belgium concerning ecosystem services has increased as in other countries, but the problem was that each of these studies was studying 1 or 2 ecosystem services on a certain designated spot, and there was little integration, and this is what the cluster project aimed to help. So what are the BEAST goals? Inventory of the knowledge and expertise on various ecosystem service fields, development of research strategies towards the future, advising ecosystem service policy and management, the building of an expert network, which will be really crucial if we will perform a TEEB, and in fact The overall goal is to prepare for the development of the national policy-oriented advice and research concerning natural resource and land use strategies. I formulated it this way because we see it more broad than only biodiversity related. We are talking about how to develop sustainable land use. Also considering provisioning services, agricultural sectors, which are in Flanders really important. So that's why I formulated it a bit broader. The project structure looks like this. On the left we have the timeline. There's a forest inventory phase, then there is a number of workshops, and finally the reporting phase. On the right side you can see the subject of the workshops. I will show this later on. And we are now here in the project, except that on the timeline we are a bit behind, but I think that's normal. So the first work package was performed by the Belgian Biodiversity Platform. They made the inventory of all the existing studies. They look at which expertise is situated where, how was the funding done. And this network, in fact, this inventory was the basis of the BEES project. It was also the basis of the first invitations for the workshops. To make it clear, these workshops were really expert workshops. We invited really the research community. And I made a little graph of the first 3 workshops. We have now almost 30 research organizations who joined at the 3rd workshop, and we have about 75 researchers working on ecosystem services who have joined the workshop. The data from the 4th workshop I still don't have, but it's increasing. So that's already a success of the BEES project. I will really shortly go through the workshops. The first workshop was at the Institute of Nature and Forest Research concerning inventory classification, prioritization, and indicators. That's the things we all get a headache from. But it's really important, even if there is no straight solutions for all the problems there are, it's really important to sit together with the research community and discuss it, to acknowledge the problems there are and to talk about how we could pragmatically solve it. When we are asked to make a TEEB for Flanders or Belgium, the keynote was Rob Alkemade. The second workshop was from the University of Antwerp. It was a more methodological workshop. The keynote was Professor Ferdinand Ovila, who was the mathematician behind the ARIES model, and it was focusing on variability, heterogeneity, scales, and uncertainty, how to cope with this. The third one from the Catholic University of Leuven was the role of biodiversity in generating services. The keynote was Professor Leon Braat, and the consequences of biodiversity ecosystem services, and also what can biodiversity policy mean for ecosystem services and vice versa. The fourth one from the Flemish Institute of Technological Development. These are the economists we work with. Concern valuation. Anil Markandia was the keynote. Was also a big, real methodologically interesting workshop. And then the 5th and the 6th workshop are about to take place. So the 24th of October, we will look at the global perspective, national trade effects on ecosystem services. This concerns agricultural feed and fodder import, but also wood trade, fisheries, and stuff like this. A number of different topics will be addressed in the workshop. And the 6th workshop, finally, is concerning the science policy interface, what does science expect from policy, and what does policy expect from scientists, and how will we cope with this. It will be interesting. So all these workshops, they will be put together in a synthesis. It might be a book, it might be a special issue, it might be a collection of papers. This will present the state of the art of the research, but also the policy implications for Belgium and the choices that will have to be made concerning persisting problems, which will generate a certain uncertainty on the data, and yeah, we will try to delineate a lot of these things. Also, in April 2012, final conference will be organized, where we will really broadly invite all the researchers that were involved, but also extended expert group, policymakers, practitioners, to talk about the outcomes of the project, but also to talk about how will we go from here. So we are confident that this BEES conference is even more the start than an end of the project. And now, really recently, I heard also that the TEEB feasibility study for 2012 is being commissioned. So the INBO and was commissioned by AMB to make a feasibility study for TEEB Flanders. And this is something that is really convenient because all these bees discussions and conclusions will of course feed into this study. And normally we should expect a TEEB Flanders or a TEEB Belgium, who knows if Belgium still exists, by 2014. And I just have put some challenges. The thing we want to do is to mainstream this idea across sectors and policy domains. We want to go further than strictly the biodiversity departments and the environmental discourse. This is something that applies to the whole land use concept, and we have to imply, I think, broader sectors. And also the subject, which I'm personally a bit missing in all these talk about ecosystem services, is how will we cope with the uncertainty which is there, which will remain there, and how will we try to develop adaptive government. I hope in the feasibility study we can make some good statements about this. So thank you for your attention, and I have put in a picture of a new ecosystem service provider who arrived in Belgium 2 weeks ago from Germany, and he will regulate the